This last month has been non-stop. Just go, 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 go. There was so much that took place. While my son was here, we took the opportunity to do some sightseeing, as I've mentioned previously, but we also needed to take an unexpected trip up to Fairbanks because his roommate had some unexpected things come up and she needed to leave early. Sad to see her go. We did take the opportunity to do some sightseeing on our way back. And one of the very first places that we stopped was an overlook near Delta Junction. And oh my goodness, what a beautiful landscape that is. And then after that, we went down by the Golconda Glacier and drove back as far as we could towards the glacier. Unfortunately, we can't drive all the way back to the glacier, and we didn't have the opportunity because it was so late in the day for us to hike up to the glacier. Hopefully my son will come back out and we'll get that opportunity to do so. If you haven't yet seen my interview with my son, be sure to check it out. I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this video. But while he was here, some of our trips were to pick up supplies so that he could help me start the renovations on my cabin.
Hey there, alone in remote Alaska. Where are we going?
Grocery shopping! Yay!
Too much enthusiasm.
One of the very first things that I had my son start on was removing the carpet from the lofts. That carpet looked like it had been here from the original build of the cabin, and it was deteriorating. The backing on it had basically disintegrated and was just coating the underlayment with just a fine layer of grit. And so it was good to see that get ripped out of the cabin. And then we began to lay down new subflooring. Though after we laid down the subflooring in the first loft, we realized that we didn't do it correctly. worried about the fact that we did it the way we did it because there is already a subfloor there. But we should have staggered the boards, and we also should have laid them down in a direction opposite of the way the cedar planks are running. Lesson learned. I made sure that when I did the other loft that I did it correctly. And when I did the main floor that I did it correctly as well. But once we got the flooring laid down, then my son installed a new ceiling fan for me. Previously, the ceiling fan had been installed over the center of the living area, and it was just in a position where I couldn't get to it easily to clean it, nor to change the light bulbs in the fixture. And so I knew that I wasn't going to put it back up in the same position. So I asked him to put it up on the center beam of the cabin.
Safety wire. We'll take it here. And we're going to take the wood screw through it. And now, if it falls, it gets caught. Very nice.
So it's right at the edge of the loft. I could easily reach it should I need to maintain it or clean it. And I am so thrilled with having this in here. This is probably going to be the best investment in the cabin next to having the roof replaced. And I say that because with this fan being right here, it is circulating all the air in the cabin and bringing all that hot air from up here in the loft and taking it down through the entire cabin. And because of that, the cabin is staying incredibly warm. I am so pleased with how warm the cabin is. In fact, there have been a couple nights where I had a fire lit early in the evening, gone to sleep with the fan on, and woke up in the morning just sweltering because it was so warm in the cabin from that air circulation. In fact, the other night I went to sleep with the fan running, and I had opened up the loft door and just let it stay open all night. The temperatures dropped down to about 29, 30 degrees overnight, and I woke up in the morning and it was still really comfortable in the cabin. I know most people would be freaking out over that, but I'm really glad that it worked out in my favor. And let me just tell you, this door here has been exactly what I wanted in this room. I'll be very pleased when I get the balcony built up here. But in the meantime, it affords me these amazing views. The views are what really attracted me to this property, amongst other things about the cabin itself. But now I can sit up here and I can enjoy these views. And I am very thrilled and thankful to have this door here, to have a wonderful cozy bedroom up here, to finally have a true bedroom. And I no longer feel like I'm camping in my cabin. I feel like I'm actually have a home now, thanks to my son and to my contractor and to everybody that helped on those crews. It means a lot to me to have the cabin looking the way it does. First things that my son did for me was he began to cut a doorway into what was the bathroom. That bathroom was where the squirrel had been exiting the cabin, and he had destroyed that bathroom. That bathroom was the most disgusting room in the entire cabin. And so I was very happy to see all of those fixtures go. Now, I have mentioned in previous videos that I am not a fan of indoor plumbing, and maybe I should explain why I'm not a fan of indoor plumbing. One is sewage backups. When sewage backs up into your home, it gets into everything it comes into contact with. And when it seeps into wood, seeps into porous materials such as carpeting and walls, you can't ever truly get rid of that. and some things just can't be cleaned. And since I have plywood floors here, I didn't ever want to take the chance of a toilet backing up into my cabin. The other thing is that when there's a leak, it could be leaking for a long time before you finally realize that there's actually a leak. And by that time, it may have done thousands of dollars worth of damage. Also, where I live, the temperatures drop well below 0 degrees. In fact, last year I had a couple of weeks where I was at negative 45. With wind chill, it was negative 60. And who knows what it dropped to overnight, because I'm not awake to see it. But during the day, the high was negative 45. So that tells me it was probably much lower than that at night. That is a recipe for disaster. While the basement was insulated and the pipes did have heat tape on them that was plugged in, I still had issues with the pipes freezing. Now, when my son took out the plumbing in the root cellar, what we discovered was that those pipes were never installed at the proper grade. And so if they'd had a 2-degree minimum drop, it should have taken the water away. Unfortunately, it was 1 degree or less. And so that water was just sitting there in those pipes. And so I'm very thankful to have them taken out. Now, I could have put them back in, but again, as I said, I don't want indoor plumbing. But we did leave the connection so that when and if I pass this cabin along to somebody else and they do want indoor plumbing, all they have to do is reinstall the plumbing from the taps going out to the crib or to the French drain and up to whatever fixtures they install, and it should be fine. Hopefully they do it correctly and don't have the issues that I would have had should I have kept the plumbing in the cabin. And so out came the bathtub, out came the toilet, sink, and the InstaHot. The InstaHot was put in sometime in the 80s, and my son, who is an HVAC technician, actually said, yeah, it's a good thing that I didn't plan on reusing it. He said it needed a lot of work, and with the age of it, I may not have been able to get the appropriate components to get it up and running safely. One other thing is it runs off propane, and that's one other thing I'm not really a fan of is propane. My father worked for the local utility company where I grew up, and he was always studying gas explosions throughout the entire nation, natural gas explosions, sometimes propane, sometimes methane. And because of that, I am scared to death of natural gas. My friends are even amazed that I'm ever using my butane burner, because I was afraid of that for the longest time, in fact. So I know I probably come across as being a bit odd for those things, but we all have our own challenges in life, and mine is definitely plumbing and natural gas or propane, butane, anything of the sort. So some of it I'm working through, some of it I've just given up on. But needless to say, the InstaHot came out and that room got cleared out completely. However, after we got to looking at things, we decided that we should just rip these shelves out completely and start new. And the reason for that is those shelves were disgusting. Now, I could have taken the time to sand them down and get them brought back up to raw wood, but I didn't have that kind of time. I had already bought 2x8 lumber because I was going to use it for the blocking, which we didn't get done this year. So I'm going to have to do that at a later date. But we decided to save the wood that we cut from the pantry shelves to use for blocking and to use the new wood to rebuild the shelves. Remember that when you walked through this door behind me, you were greeted with this center island. And the center island really blocked your view when you walked in the door. It forced your eye to go one of two directions. either straight down this alleyway, which became a drop zone for everything, especially during the chaos and the clutter of construction during the summer months, or it forced your eye to go to the pantry wall, which wasn't very appealing to look at because your eye had no place to rest. And that center island was my least favorite thing about the kitchen. Now, I did tell the previous owner when she showed me the cabin, I did tell her that I was very happy that the kitchen looked the way it did. But I wasn't exactly being completely honest about what I was saying. What I meant by that was I was happy that it was just the center island and the one counter that looked like they were pretty easy to take out. And I was happy there were no appliances here other than a dishwasher for me to have to dispose of. This is the only thing from the original kitchen that remains, though it is in a new position from what it originally was. Originally, it was at the end of that center counter, basically not in a very good position in the cabin. One, the heat seemed to be trapped on this side of the cabin because it had several bins in the chimney. It meant that there was a greater chance of creosote building up in the chimney. And it was also one of the major leaking points in the kitchen. Moving it here was always the plan for me. But what took place on the other side here was also always the plan. I loved the fact that the kitchen was what it was and that there wasn't more to it. I loved the fact that they hadn't gone through and updated the kitchen because I didn't want to rip out someone else's design because it didn't fit my aesthetic. And I've had friends tell me, oh, you're very vain. And maybe I am, but I want to live someplace that I love. This is my forever home. I'm never moving again. I have no intentions of selling the cabin, and I have no intentions of going back to the lower 48. Sorry, fam. But you're always welcome here. But I knew that because the kitchen was just the counter and just that center island, that it was going to be very easy to demolish. There were no appliances to dispose of other than the one dishwasher, so one less thing to worry about. And I knew that the shape and the size of the kitchen was going to work for what I had in mind. And so with my son here, I had him rip out that center island, which I could have possibly done on my own, but believe it or not, that thing was overbuilt. It was so stout and so heavy. But my son, being the brute, he was able to take out most of it in large chunks without even breaking it apart. I would have had to take it into splinter form, basically, to get it out of here. But he ripped out that center island for me. He helped to rip out that countertop. Yep. Oh, my cabin's a disaster, but it's looking better.
I guess that's one way to resurface the counter. Ooh. That's a fingerprinting machine.
And it's gone. Woo-hoo. Now, unfortunately, he had to leave before time allowed for the other construction projects to take place. after he left is when I reinstalled the subfloor in the pantry. This time I installed it correctly, and that I built my new pantry shelves. Also built my new kitchen counter, and let me tell you that this thing is a beast. I wish he had been here when I built it, because getting it flipped up and into position took forever. And oh, my poor muscles hurt so much from doing it afterwards, but it's not going anywhere now. Like the other one was overbuilt, this one probably too, but it's going to serve me well for all of my canning needs, processing needs, and what have you. It is exactly what I wanted. Now, I still need to go in and stain the counter, and then I'm going to coat it in tung oil. And the reason I'm coating it in tung oil and not a varnish of some sort is because tung oil is food safe. And should anything happen to it, I can just resand it, stain it, and put more tung oil over the top of it very easily. I don't really have to use any stripper to do so. And then I moved in my kitchen table, which my mother had started to refinish right before she gave it to me, along with my buffet. And she never finished them, so I'm going to go ahead and finish stripping these items down along with my china cabinet, and I'm going to get these things looking ship shape again. so that, you know, everything looks like it's brand new and everything has a similar wood tone to it. I know brown on brown is probably not everybody's favorite, but I like old world look of things. I'm not really into modern anything. And so I want this cabin to look like you walked in and you stepped back in time. Now, granted, the things that I've done in here might seem a bit over the top or luxurious for a rustic cabin, but again, I'm a girly girl and it's what I wanted. So I'm very happy with everything that's been done in here. Earlier in this video, I had mentioned that I am not a fan of plumbing, and yet, what do we have here but a faucet? You'll have to excuse, my voice seems to be echoing in my new sink. So my new sink is, as I showed in a previous video, it is just these large steel bowls. I actually have 2 of these. I only have one set on the counter right now. And I love this because I can take it away, and then I have this whole countertop at my disposal for whatever project I have going on. But in the meantime, I have installed just a simple manual pump faucet. This is a pump faucet that you would find in a camper. And while I love this faucet for what it's going to offer me as far as the availability to cool down the dishwater, because I use boiling water to do my dishes, so this will just make it tolerable for my hands. What I don't love is that this actually has a tendency to leak. And so I'm on the hunt for a new faucet. I have some ideas in mind. I'm re-watching some of Boss of the Swamp's old videos because, you know, he's taken the time to figure everything out so that we don't have to. And I'm going to look at some of the things he's done. One of the things I'm not a fan of, though, is hauling heavy jugs of water up to the 2nd level so that I have gravity fed. But it may come to that. But in the meantime, I just have this plumbed through a hole that's been cut into the sill here, and it goes down and then through this plywood backer board and then into a 14-gallon holding tank on the other side. I have 2 of these tanks, and it just siphons the water out of there and stays on demand essentially, so that I don't have to prime it every time. All I have to do is just crank the handle over and the water goes right into the sink. So for what it is and what my intentions were, it works out well. However, if I want to wash my hands, say, you can see that that's not really possible with this faucet. So that's one of the reasons why I want to switch it out as well. So let me show you what I have going on for when I want to wash my hands. When I want to wash my hands, I'm using this vessel right here. And this works out fine as long as I put a catchment underneath it. So I need to rethink the faucet situation. Again, I don't really want plumbing. I don't want anything that can cause leakage or potentially leak down the line, and yet is convenient for both washing hands and for doing dishes. So this works for now. And so does that for their each purposes. But if I had one that served both, that would be better. So on the hunt I am. Some of the other things that I still need to do in the kitchen is get lighting for this chandelier. So I do have lights on order, LED lights, and hopefully they work. And I know this chandelier probably seems a bit over the top for a rustic cabin, but it's sentimental to me. This chandelier hung over my grandparents' dining room table when I was growing up. And so when I got the opportunity to have it as my own, I jumped on that chance. And I absolutely love it. So it's going to stay. And like I said, getting lights put in here as well as some other places in the cabin is one of the things that I still need to do, as well as getting flooring put in the main part of the cabin, refinishing the furniture. And so I still have lots of projects to work on around the cabin. what needs to be done in the kitchen is only a small portion of it. And so I hope that you'll join me for those future projects, as well as all my adventures here in remote Alaska. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so and turn on bell notifications so that you get notified as to when those videos post. And if you haven't given this video a thumbs up, I hope that you'll do so. I hope that you found it useful or entertaining. And until next time, please stay safe and take care, and make sure to stick around for these outtakes, as well as for a couple of videos that you may not have seen yet. Links will be at the very end. Voice and film.
And action.
When I originally bought this kitchen, sorry, and get these things looking top shit looking. This is what I'm using, and I just have this